Hello and welcome to my review of the Legiones Astartes Mk.VI Tactical Squad. Now separately, a box of 20 of these, which you can see there, will cost you £47.50. Luckily though, you can buy them from third-party sellers to get yourself a discount. The set comprises of 352 plastic components and 32mm bases. Now that is more parts than the Mk.III Tactical Squad, which has 324, and it is also more parts than the Mk.IV Tactical Squad, which comprises of 344. So out of the three box sets, you are getting more parts in the Mk.VI set, but that's for a number of reasons. One, you're getting two different optional bayonet accessories, either the chain sword bayonet or just the bayonet, which you don't get in the Mk.IVs and Mk.IIIs. And also the left shoulder pauldron comes in two parts, whereas it doesn't in the other two sets. You could argue that Mk.III, the power plants come in two parts, but you are getting a number of special weapons and heavy weapons and close combat weapons with the other two box sets, which you're not getting with these. All you're getting with these are a couple of short range weapons for the Sergeant, the Vexilla and the Nuncio Vox, and the rest are all bolt guns. You're not getting any plasma guns or flamers or anything like that. And the reason why I'm showcasing 20 of them is because you get 20 in a box. There's the Age of Darkness box set behind them, because that's probably the best way of you picking up 40 of them. There are 40 of these Mk.VIs in the Age of Darkness set. If you bought two boxes of 20, that would of course be £95, which is more than half of the box set. Then you factor in you're getting a Spartan, which is £67.50. You're very close to the box set, and that's not including the Praetors and the Cataphracti Terminators and the Contemptor. And of course, if you've bought a Contemptor separately, you're probably going to have a number of spare weapons in that kit, and chest plates and heads and things that you can use in another box of Age of Darkness. The format of this video, after that preamble, is I will look at these miniatures up close and look at all the detail and go through how easy they were to build and things. Then I will show you the spare parts, of which there is a decent amount. Then I'll go through some size comparisons with Mk.IIIs, Mk.IVs, and of course showcasing some of the Legion specific heads and shoulder pauldrons compared to them, comparing them to Legion specific units as well, like the Interemptors in my case. And I'll do some other size comparisons with Dreadnoughts and tanks. And finally, I'll go through all of their rules taken from the Liber Astartes army book. So let's have a look at the detail of these Space Marines. I just want to say first off, these are not my favourite Space Marines. I think Beakey's work now and again in 40k, and definitely for like Raven Guard and Assault Troopers, things like that. But for me, I just don't get on. But for me, they're just not my favourite compared to like Mk.III or Mk.II armour. But let's have a look at the detail of them. So we'll start off with the, I say Sergeant. I've given him a plasma pistol and power sword. Great combination there. You can pick any of these Mk.VI Space Marines to be your Sergeant. You don't have to pick one with a specific, you know, leg pose. I like the top marking, and one of the things I don't like about Mk.VIs is the power plants. I do think they look a bit funky. They're difficult to get rid of the mould lines as well. I've just seen one there that I need to sort of tidy up a bit. But that's the Sergeant. You've got the Nuncio Vox, I think, which is like, you know, helps with your communications throughout your squad. This one's equipped with the chainsaw bayonet. I mean, at first I was thinking of having some of these in with Death Guard, but now Death Guard are getting their Mk.VI helmets and shoulder pauldrons, so that idea has sort of been put to one side for a moment. I think these might just be either for Raven Guard or for Dark Angels at the moment. We've got this one with the Vexilla. Boosts the old morale. One thing I will say is some of these have the, like, it's some kind of, I say it's a winged eagle, but it's some kind of like artifact jewel on the end of the grips. You can cut that off, you know, you don't need that on there, especially if you're going for like a heretic force or whatnot. Try and get rid of those symbols. But yeah, I'll just point your attention to, some of them have the bayonets, just a normal bayonet. Some of them have chainsaw bayonets. They're completely optional. You don't have to have either on them. I think my next set of these won't have any of the bayonets, just for a bit more variety. They come in a set of 5. So what that means is you've got 5 then duplicated, what, 4 times in a unit of 20. So there will be 4 of them, obviously, out of that 20, 4 per pose that will be exactly the same. And what I mean by exactly the same is the leg pose in particular. So if we look at the Sergeant and this one, their leg pose is exactly the same, but they look pretty different. You know, it's not too distracting, but I guess if you've got 40 of them and you don't have the chainsaw bayonets, or you have the heads and arms pointing in a similar direction, they're going to start to look very samey with 40, which is why it might be a good idea to pick up some Legion specific heads and shoulder pauldrons. Right here is an example of one I've got for either a tactical support squad or for Mark 6 interemptors for the Dark Angels. You've got the Legion specific head. There are other Legion specific heads coming out soon, like the Emperor's Children and World Eaters and so on, and Death Guard, of course. And you've got a Legion specific shoulder pauldron. Now this changes the look of them immensely. Especially if you're going for like a tactical support squad, which have the special weapons. You go for Volkite, plasma, melters, you name it. So it just adds a bit of variety to them, and you might not want to make a whole unit of 10 like I have for my Dark Angels. You might just want to get some heads and shoulder pauldrons, you know, 10 of each, and then sprinkle them into your unit of 20. So every second Space Marine gets the shoulder pauldron, maybe another one doesn't get shoulder pauldron but gets the helmet, and it just adds a bit of variety to them and stops them looking a bit more generic. That's if you didn't want to go for the full special weapons, or maybe you wanted to have Legion specific special weapons like I have, because then I can run them as interemptors. So that was a cheeky little I say size comparison. That was just a comparison with the unit and what can be achieved with the Legion specific heads. What we'll do now is we'll just look at some of the spare parts. So we've got a number of spare parts right here. As you can see, hopefully you can see, so these are all the spare parts from the special weapon unit that I had. So I will have bolt guns remaining, I will have heads, I will have shoulder pauldrons, but if you cut out the chaff here, you'll see that you do get some helmetless heads. I think a couple, one sort of screaming, one with a mask on the front of him. You get the chainsword bayonets, the actual bayonets. You get another kind of sergeant head. So that's just some of the spare parts that you would get if you swapped them all with the special weapons. This sprue here is the main number of spare parts you'll get. I haven't put any of these bolt pistols on them, and you also get grenades with pouches. Like I say, you get these 2 heads. You get a power fist or a lightning claw. They're your 2 options. You've got I think a melter bomb there as well. You get loads of grenades. You get a decent number of grenades there. And of course, because you'd have a second one of these sprues, you know, you'd have another Vexilla, another power sword. So you don't have to run them in a unit of 20, although I think that's quite a strong unit to have. You can run them in a unit of 10, but it does get quite costly if you're going for 10 and then having a sergeant with a, you know, special weapons. Whereas if you have 20, that, I know it's a bit silly, but it raises the survivability of your sergeant of that one Space Marine, and also it's a solid blob that can go on objectives and things. So there are sort of game reasons for running them in blocks of 20. You know, there's also game reasons for putting 10 in a Rhino to go and capture objective points, or having these 20 in a Spartan. Speaking of which, that is my cue for the size comparisons, and we'll start off by, you know, comparing them to, you know, other Mark 6s. So that's the Mark 6 with the Dark Angels specific head. I can also show you them next to Mark 3 and Mark 4 in similar positions, similar poses. So you know, this is another thing that people say quite a lot. Oh, look at the size difference, you know, Mark 6's true scale. What a load of old tosh. There's lots of other YouTubers and Instagram users that have posted pictures of the differences. There is no difference. They're both exactly the same. So we can just quell that argument straight away. Yeah, Mark 3 look smaller, but they're not. You can see there that the power plant is taller. The head is actually a little bit taller. They're in the similar pose that they can be. So if you've got Mark 6s running with Mark 3s, other than the armor differences, they're going to look the same. Mark 4s, on the other hand, well, this isn't probably the best example, but this Mark 4 is slightly shorter than the Mark 6, and I think that's mainly due to the pose. It's not in a very kind of upright pose at all. If we were to get the Vigilator, Vigilator's pretty much the same height, but again, he's kind of standing on a rock, so that's a bit unfair. I haven't got many Mark 4s nearby. I need to find them all. They're all hiding about. But yeah, I'd say if you're running Mark 6s with Mark 4s, it's going to look a little bit odd, but it's still going to be fine, mixing all your armours up. Personally, that's not really for me. I like to have a narrative army, so most of my Dark Angels will be in Mark 3. So quite a few of these will either be sequestered off to Raven Guard or Emperor's Children, but I'll still have a few for Dark Angels. But I just wanted to make that comparison straight away with the other two Horus Heresy marks of armour. At the end of the day, although Mark 6 is the, I say, newer armour in the Horus Heresy towards the end of the Heresy and the Siege of Terror and things, the fact of the matter is that there was a shortage of Mark 3s and Mark 4s just because of the losses that have been suffered. So that's why those became rarer and rarer towards the end. But all of the legions had access to Mark 6 during the Siege of Terror, as Games Workshop have said many times. But I just feel like it looks better with some legions over others. Other size comparisons, I have a Rhino right here. So apparently you can fit all of those 10 plus 2 into this Rhino. Maybe 6 at a push, but definitely nowhere near 12. So yeah, that's what we're saying now in the rules. You can fit 12 of these in here, but there we go. So that's those next, you know, compared to a Rhino, pretty straightforward size. Compared to a Spartan, here's a Spartan, pretty big. You know, you can fit 26 of these in here. Again, still, you know, there's 20 there. I'd probably say 15, but maybe a push 20, but not 26. You know, they can only come out one at a time as well. So yeah, there is that. And they're definitely will be bumping their head. So yeah, there is that. That's how they measure up next to a Spartan. Next to a Contemptor, Right, here's a resin contemptor. Why not? Same size as the plastic one, but yeah, you'll be running your Space Marines alongside a contemptor, I'm hoping, because they're pretty good. Here's the plastic one as well, so we've got a couple supporting them. Then we've got the Praetor. Praetors are massive in the Age of Darkness box set, fair bit bigger than the normal Mark 6s. And then I've also got the plastic Leviathan as well. He's come to join us with his magnetised melee weapons. So I hope all of those size comparisons have helped, you know, with the Horus Heresy. The final one I just want to squeeze in there is just with a Cataphractii Terminator. Tartarus seem a bit smaller, but the Mark 6s are similar height. I think Terminator armour should be bigger anyway, you know, but compared to this they do look quite small compared to the Mark 6. That's even more so with the Tartarus actually. And the final comparison that I would like to make today is just with some 40k miniatures, because you know, nothing's stopping you using these Mark 6 Space Marines in 40k. Same with Mark 3, they're Space Marines at the end of the day, you know, which is great. A bit like the Spartan and the Rhinos, you know, you can use them in the 40k game system. I don't see that disappearing anytime soon. But compared to a normal Space Marine, these Mark 6s are a tiny bit taller. Probably there's a bigger size difference than these compared to the Mark 4. But there is a difference. And then compared to the Intercessor is, you know, taller, but there's not as much difference obviously as a normal sort of Space Marine. But the Intercessor is definitely an Intercessor as opposed to, you know, just a Mark 6 Space Marine. Then you've got the Slimarbo, who probably comes up to about chest plate, 6 foot or so. And that's it. So they're all the size comparisons I wanted to make with the miniatures that I have. I hope that's helped. Okay, so this is my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for these Space Marines. As I've mentioned many times in this review already, you don't have to use Mark 6s. You can use Mark 3s, Mark 4s, hopefully they'll bring out Mark 2s. Hopefully they'll bring out Mark 5s actually, as your Space Marines in this Horus Heresy game. Now, troops work a little bit differently in Horus Heresy than they do in 40k, you know, so if this is like your first ever sort of Space Marine review video for the Horus Heresy, then you might be watching this thinking, oh super, where's your plasma gun, where's your heavy bolter or missile launcher? You know, the tactical squads in 40k are laid out that way. Why don't you have them in this? That's because a Legion tactical squad just has 10 legionaries but can have up to 20, and they're all equipped with bolt guns, with the exception of the sergeant, who can take a number of weapon options. So a Legion tactical squad, it is a troop choice, and it will cost you 100 points, so straight up 100 points for 10 Space Marines. Of course there's 20 Space Marines there, so you know, you just times that by 2 and you get your 200 points. The stat line reads a movement of 7 inches, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness are all 4, 1 wound, initiative 4, 1 attack, leadership 7 and a save of 3+. The sergeant, the only difference there is he gets 2 attacks and his leadership is an 8. The unit composition is 9 legionaries and 1 Legion tactical sergeant. They all have a bolter, bolt pistol, power armour, frag grenades and crack grenades. The unit type is legionary, infantry line. Legion tactical sergeant is infantry character line, and the special rules, they have Legiones Astartes and Fury of the Legion and Heart of the Legion. Now these are 2 very important rules which I feel like I must explain straight away. This is, you know, 2 main reasons why you'd pick pick this this unit, and this is how they operate differently compared to, you know, Space Marines in 40k. So Fury of the Legion, if the model with this special rule has not moved or run during the movement phase, then that model may add 1 to the number of shots fired when making a shooting attack with a bolter, and that doesn't include combi bolters, bolt pistols, or other bolt weapons. So it's just with a bolter, so they're adding 1 to the extra shot. So if they've got their bolt gun, and it is bolt guns only, then they're getting that extra shot. Heart of the Legion is another rule where if at least half of its models and a unit within 6 inches of an objective, then the unit gain Feel No Pain 6+ and Stubborn special rules. If they already have Feel No Pain, then instead increase the value of the brackets to one of those rules by +1, while the unit has at least half of its models within 6 inches of the objective. So that's another good rule, more reason to put them near an objective. And that's what they're going for. They're line infantry, so they can capture those objectives. Dedicated transport. A unit of no more than 10 models may take a Legion Rhino transport as a dedicated transport. As a dedicated transport, this does not use up an additional force organisation slot, but its points cost must be paid for as part of that army. It's up to you whether you want to take a Rhino. I always would, just to give them that extra protection. You know, all the wounds and fire and things are going on the Rhino first rather than your Space Marines. You know, and these Space Marines are 10 points per model, so if you lose, you know, 4 of them to shooting attacks, that's normally the points cost of a standard Rhino. A Rhino is 35 points, so if a Rhino can save like 4 Space Marines, then it's made up its points cost. And also on top of that, it gets you moving to objectives at double the speed because it's got movement 14 inches. A Legion Tactical Squad may take up to 10 additional Legionaries at +10 points per model. 1 Legionary may take a Nuncio Vox at 10 points, an Augury Scanner at 10 points, and a Legion Vexilla at 10 points. Any model with a bolter may take a bayonet at 1 point each, or a chain bayonet at 2 points. All Legionaries in the unit may be given chain swords at 5 points per model. The Legion Tactical Sergeant may exchange his bolter for a Magna Combi Weapon, 10 points, or a Minor Combi Weapon at 5 points. The Legion Tactical Sergeant may take one of the following options: a Chain Sword for 5 points, Heavy Chainsword and Power Weapon for 10 points each, a Power Fist for 15 and a Lightning Claw for 10 points. The Sergeant may exchange his Bolt Pistol for a Plasma Pistol at 10 points, Volkite Serpenta at 5 points, or Hand Flamer at 2 points. And the Sergeant may exchange his Power Armour for Artificer Armour at 10 points. And the Sergeant may take Melter Bombs. Now, I probably wouldn't pick Artificer Armour for your Sergeant. He's only got 1 wound at the end of the day. His weapon skill and ballistic skill are the same as everyone else. It does add to survivability, but for that 2+ save, you can get a full Space Marine for the same points cost. How I would run them, they are your standard troops. You know, they're cheap and cheerful, 100 points. You know, they've got that Heart of the Legion rule. Unless your opponent is packing some heavy weapons and AP3, AP2 weapons, which are still quite rare in Horus Heresy, they're not going to be instant deathed. You know, especially a nice big blob of 20 of them, or if you're going for 10, pick a Rhino or Drop Pod or something just to protect them for that amount of time. They will have a role, and that is to go and capture objectives and to stand on them, and to make use of their reactions in game. And they can also fulfill another rule, which is bogging down your enemy's contemptors, especially ones without any close combat weapons. As models, they're quite quick and easy to build. Yeah, the left shoulder pauldron is a bit of a pain, and so are the power plants, but all in all, they're quite quick to put together. You can put them together relatively quickly, and I like the fact that Forge World are making all the shoulder pads and heads for them to give them a more varied look. What do you guys think of Mark 6s? Are they your favourite mark of power armour, or like myself, or do you prefer the other power armour marks that we have? Please do put your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below as always. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor protects.